Our focus is on cohesion, not on coercion. Colleagues, the most exceptional event on the political landscape in the past decade was the emergence of a partnership for national unity comprising 5 parties: Guyana Action Party, Justice for All Party, National Front Alliance, People's National Congress Reform, and Working People's Alliance, the earliest members. The next decade, until 2030, similarly, will witness the partnership's preeminence in the affairs of state. It was the partnership that took the bold step to break the stranglehold of winner-takes-all paranoid politics that polarized and paralyzed political relations for nearly 7 decades, when we entered into a coalition which held executive office for 5 years. The attitudes, beliefs, and conduct of popular politics hitherto had been based on fierce competition among parties in the interest of their respective constituents, exclusively for state power by winning positions in the National Assembly. The old party system tended to reflect rather than resolve economic, ideological, social, and other differences. APNU made a covenant with the Guyanese people to work together to reunite our fractured polity. Our partners were inspired by the prospect of pursuing the common good and at ensuring that everyone could enjoy a good life. The common good ensures that the enjoyment of services by one citizen does not deprive others of their value. Our partners had a common vision of a better life for everyone and a shared mission to give meaning to the Constitution of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana by creating an inclusionary democracy, which prescribes the principal objective of the political system of the state is to establish an inclusionary democracy by providing increasing opportunities for the participation of citizens and their organizations in the management and the decision-making processes of the state, with particular emphasis on those areas of decision-making that directly affect their well-being. Colleagues, APNU became a movement, more than a party. It became a movement to reaffirm our common commitment to provide a good life for all by confronting the challenges facing the country and by establishing an equitable society in a stable political environment with a prosperous economy. APNU's first manifesto for the general and regional elections 2011 described the partnership as a movement for the creation of a community with a common cause, promising to establish a just society in a stable political environment with a thriving economy. The manifesto emphasized the idea of a good life at the personal and national level. A good life depends at the personal level on a sound education, satisfactory employment, economic opportunity, individual equality, political empowerment, and social protection for the vulnerable. The original manifesto remains as relevant in 2021 as it was a decade ago in 2011. The partnership will continue to work towards fulfilling its mission and implementing the principles of its manifesto during the next decade. APNU's new political culture has changed the scene measurably in several ways, most particularly by eroding the concept of winner-takes-all politics, thereby preventing the domination of a single party, by emphasizing the principle of proportionality over that of plurality, and reducing the tendency towards dictatorship, by evading the pitfalls of cleavages along racial, regional, and religious lines, by embracing ideologically similar parties, and by encouraging the emergence of small parties. I say this again, by encouraging the emergence of small parties to participate in elections by enhancing the electoral appeal and broadening parliamentary representation. Colleagues, APNU participated in 3 general and regional elections in 2011, 2015, and 2020, each time increasing its tally in the electoral polls. The partnership in a coalition with the Alliance for Change won a plurality in 2015 because it embraced a common purpose and was committed to the ideal of a good life for everyone. APNU now looks to the decade up to 2030. Colleagues, APNU started to implement its policies even while it was in opposition during the 10th Parliament from 2011 to 2015. Its performance won public confidence, and after forming a coalition with the AFC, won the GRA 2015 and entered the 11th Parliament with a majority of only 1 seat. The partnership can boast of its purposeful performance in every field. We can boast of what we achieved in public education. More children were able to attend school as a result of the Public Education Transportation Service, PETS, which aimed at providing free transportation by boats, buses, and bicycles, while the Public Education Nutrition Service, PENS, provided free breakfast. In public health, maternal deaths were reduced. New and rehabilitated centers were established at Port Kaituma, Georgetown, Diamond. Water ambulances were provided for the first time in the rivers in regions 1, 7, and 10. In public infrastructure, we extended aerodromes countrywide, bridges and roads, benefited every region, and the construction of stellings, Supanam in region 2, and Bartica in region 7. And those of you who travel to Bartica would feel that you're arriving at some Caribbean tourist destination. APNU made a difference. In public services, we established the Regional Public Broadcasting Service Network in Aishalton, Anna Regina, Anna, Lethem, Linden, Mabaruma, Madhya, and Oriala, providing new opportunities for education and for entertainment and culture. In public telecommunications, the introduction of the Schools Connectivity Initiative for digital equity access and learning connected teachers at the primary and secondary levels with the Ministry of Education and regional education offices. In public utilities, we improved access to potable water by the installation and the provision of water services for the first time in some sections of Region 9 in the Rupununi. Street lights were erected for the first time, East Bank Babis in Region 6. Electricity and water supply services were provided and extended to previously unserved neighborhoods. In environmental stewardship, the promulgation of the Green State Development Strategy will contribute to satisfying the state's constitutional obligation to protect the environment, particularly in the hinterland. and will contribute to satisfying the state's duty to benefit or to ensure that all citizens, whether in the coastland or hinterland, and future generations would benefit from the prevention of pollution and ecological degradation. We will promote conservation and secure sustainable development and use of natural resources while promoting justifiable and economic development in all regions. Legislative measures we undertook through the Natural Resources Fund in 2019 provided for transparent, accountable, and effective management of the country's petroleum revenues. The country was removed from the list of states on the European Commission's money laundering list. In local democracy, the creation of 4 capital towns at Bartikal, Lethem, Abarum, and Madian improved markedly the quality of life of local residents there. Local government elections held twice in 2 years after a 20-year hiatus under the PPP brought decision-making back to the people. In social cohesion, the establishment of the Department of Social Cohesion helped to mold an environment in which all diversities are embraced. The Declaration of Arrival Days, for the first time, Chinese Arrival Day, Indian Arrival Day, Portuguese Arrival Day, and the celebration of Indigenous Heritage Month and Emancipation of Africans enhanced ethnic pride. The issuance of official declarations for Demerara Martyrs Day, Rose Hall Martyrs Day, National Day of Villages, National Education Day, National Petroleum Day, National Tree Day, among others, enhance our consciousness of our common nationhood. In terms of territorial integrity, the pursuit of a juridical settlement of the territorial controversy with the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela in the International Court of Justice, and the expectation that the decision of the ICJ will advance the solution, the permanent solution of this controversy which has plagued us since independence. But colleagues, moreover, youth empowerment. APNU embarked on programs to provide greater access to education, equality, employment, and empowerment for young people. The establishment of the Guyana Youth Corps, the Hinterland Employment and Youth Service, and the Sustainable Livelihood and Entrepreneurial Development Program, SLED, expanded opportunities for young people, for their education, and for their employment. On the other hand, colleagues, we had to confront the failure of the old politics. APNU represented the new politics of cooperation rather than confrontation. Colleagues, it's a well-known fact that I acknowledge the declaration issued by the chairman of the Election Commission, as I was required to do in accordance with the Constitution, on 2nd of August, 2020. The APNU coalition, APNU-AFC coalition stated repeatedly from the start of the electoral process that it would respect the lawful declaration of the Elections Commission, and that policy was never altered. The APNU plus AFC coalition respects the lawful consequences of the declaration as announced by the chairman of the commission, but maintain that the report ordered by the court and presented by the commission contains significant anomalies and irregularities. The coalition did not endorse that report, which it considered to be flawed. The coalition challenged the declaration, the declared results lawfully, peacefully, but purposefully. Colleagues, the People's Progressive Party's re-entry into office signaled a return to the old-fashioned exclusionary politics. The PPP has started to dismantle the progressive institutions that APNU created. It has started to dismiss public servants and destroy APNU's achievements. it seems quite clear that there exists in Guyana a deep state, a state not made up of elected MPs and officials, but a network of unelected, unofficial, and unknown people who are directing important government policies. The PPP administration entered office on the 2nd of August 2020, and as it prepares to celebrate its first anniversary in a few days' time, on the 2nd of August 2021, it has become clear that its record reads like a diary of a bad year. There have been several mistakes. The dismissal of over 1,700 public servants who, in the midst of a pandemic, have been deprived of the ability to provide for their families. The dismantling of the National Anti-Narcotics Agency and the Department of Citizenship at a time when transnational crime, such as narco-trafficking and human trafficking, have become rampant. The dissolution of the Bertram Collins College of the Public Service, established to train cadets for government service. The disestablishment of the Guyana Youth Corps, the Hinterland Employment and Youth Service, and the Sustainable Livelihood and Entrepreneurial Development Programs, which provided opportunities for young people for their education and for their development. The suspension or the attempted suspension of the Police Service Commission, which not only damaged officers' morale and esprit de corps, but has also demoralized the ordinary ranks of the Guyana police force. And then we have the mismanagement of the COVID pandemic, which, as I said this morning, the 15th of July, has gone up to, if it does not pass, 503 deaths. And of course, this mismanagement of Guyana's worst disaster, the flood of 2021, which affected 51,000 households, or about 250,000 persons. 1/3 of our population was affected by the floods this year, which remained on the land for over 7 weeks. And even now, the continued rainfall has continued to affect our citizens in some regions, particularly region number 10. Colleagues, the deep state has been making dangerous decisions. It has been destroying the efficacy of legitimate law enforcement agency, and is taking the country back to the dark days of the troubles of the early 2000s. The PPP's performance has been unforgettable. It has proposed a so-called One Guyana Commission and a corridor of unity, but those proposals have failed to function. They have failed to foster the type of social cohesion we need in this country. We can see everyday crime and interpersonal violence are spiraling out of control, and the surge in serious transnational narco-trafficking has been ignored in the absence of the National Anti-Narcotics Agency, which the PPP disbanded hurriedly as soon as it got into office. Why? Colleagues, APNU has worked well together. We are stronger together. Throughout our decade in opposition and in office, notwithstanding the final declaration of results, we are still working together. It was regretted as a consequence that two partners, the Justice for All Party and the Working People's Alliance, chose to withdraw from the partnership of their own accord. But happily, we were able to welcome the Equal Rights and Justice Party and the Guyana Nation Builders Movement, both of which are led by persons who have already served, not only in the parties which left the partnership, but also in the coalition government. And we welcome them heartily. Colleagues, at the beginning of last year, 2020, APNU launched a decade of development, a 10-year plan that will accelerate the country's 4 transformative processes. The transition towards becoming a green state will continue. And in opposition, we will continue to emphasize the preservation and protection of the environment and the graduation towards greater value-added production, not only for us, but for future generations. We initiated a digital state which will connect every municipality, every region, every village, every community, every neighborhood, every government agency and household, and generate ICT services which make public services more accessible. We saw the emergence of an education nation, characterized by our efforts to ensure that every child could get to school, that every child will graduate from secondary school, and that we will have, as a whole, a more highly educated workforce. And as I announced on the 20th of December 2019, we have become a petroleum producing state. We are a petroleum state, and that production will result in increased fiscal revenues, which in turn will generate faster economic growth, greater employment, and increased educational and economic opportunities for our people. Colleagues, the decade of development is not a mere slogan. It is the framework for a 10-year plan. And we have in the National Assembly a cohort of younger MPs who are committed to intensifying the development of our country and improving citizens' quality of life. And they will do this by ensuring that every child continues to have access to nursery, primary, and secondary school, and tuition-free education for eligible students at the university. By providing incentives for agriculture, business, fishing, commerce, manufacturing, and mining sectors, with emphasis on agro-processing and small and micro enterprise. By preserving our ecosystems, biodiversity, and implementing conservation and climate adaptation measures. By fostering greater respect for each ethnic group and the cultural practices, and eliminating extreme poverty and underdevelopment. By empowering citizens through local government elections to promote municipal, neighborhood, and regional development. By preserving indigenous culture and ensuring equal opportunities through education, enterprise, and an environment which is sustainable and secure. By improving public infrastructure, by continuing to extend aerodromes and bridges, by expanding access to potable water and strengthening coastal sea defenses, by improving the public health system to reduce transnational communicable disease. And bear in mind, it was the coalition which opened the first hospital to deal with communicable disease. By preventing epidemic disease and providing the best healthcare possible with our resources. By ensuring citizens' constitutional right to proper housing, and by eradicating all squatter settlements, wherever they are. And Guyana has 178 squatter settlements, and we were on the track to eradicate them all. And moreover, by making Guyana safe for our women and children, by reducing crime, protecting human life, and strengthening institutional, legislative, and regulatory framework to keep our women and children safe. Colleagues, a partnership for national unity was established a decade ago, and both in opposition and in office, we embarked on a program of creating jobs, of building and improving infrastructure, of reducing crime, and raising the standards of our schools, our hospitals, our public utilities, and our public services. We can be proud of our achievements. APNU has made a difference. There has been progress in setting our country on the right path, the path to social, political, and economic development. APNU's record has demonstrated that the partnership can be trusted to secure a better future for Guyana over the next decade and beyond. We are stronger together. I thank you. May God bless our partnership. May God bless APNU.